Welcome back to Afternoon Express, where we are celebrating this Thursday all things cake. We have got an avid baker, a cookbook connoisseur. I'm talking about none other than one of my favorite bakers. No offense, Chef Jay, I'm speaking about Emma Wilding. Now, you've already taught us how to make the actual sponge, and now it's time to add those layers. Now we've baked it, where to from here?
So, sponges are out the oven, they're cooling. Here they are, you can smell, the kitchen smells amazing. And now we're actually going to create two different icings. So, I've already pre-whipped one, which is my normal vanilla bean buttercream. It's what they also call an American buttercream or basic buttercream. Nothing basic about it because it's delicious. It's got real vanilla bean pods and vanilla beans in it. So this, I'm not going to make it right now. I'm just going to show you guys. So it's butter, icing sugar, a bit of milk, just to give it a little bit of smoothness. You'll see it's very smooth and fluffy to work with. And this is going to be the outside of the cake. So we're basically going to create, encasing a delicious filling, which is a bit creamier and softer inside the cake. And then this, I always say it's a bit like concrete. If you're building a structure, this is what's going to keep the whole thing together.
Everything about it just like makes so much sense. I mean, the fact that you're getting into that surprise as you get into the cake is stunning.
Lovely. So essentially you just whip all of this up in one of these and it comes out like this.
Starts by whipping up the butter till it's light and fluffy, and then the icing sugar gets added with the milk and the vanilla. If you're on your own, sometimes it gets a bit difficult working with a piping bag because you're trying to do things. So if you have a jug or a little vase at home, pop your piping bag in, over, and then, Pali, if you can pop this into the piping bag.
Can you imagine the mess I would have made at that point if I didn't?
I would have icing all the way up to my shoulder.
Everywhere.
Exactly. So even a big water jug works really well.
Beautiful.
Pop that in there. We're going to start on this creamy vanilla filling, which actually starts with a base. It's basically icing, but it has a cooked roux, like a white sauce base almost mixed into it.
So the roux is the white sauce?
Roux is a white sauce, but this is a sweet one. So I'm just going to start off by whisking together some milk and flour, just to get rid of any lumps. So it's milk, flour. You'll see in the book, it's actually called my secret weapon, because people are always begging me for this recipe and ask, oh, is this whipped cream? What is this? And I was like, no, it's an actual icing, but it's so light and fluffy and creamy. And for a vanilla cake, it's divine.
What you need. It's what you want.
Perfect. So, I'm trying to work. I don't want to overfill my piping bag, and I'm also trying to make the icing go all the way down to the bottom. Am I doing the right thing?
You're doing it perfect.
All right.
If you feel it's enough, you fill it about up to there, I would say.
Okay.
So I'm just going to strain this little whisked situation into a pot. I'm doing it through a sieve just to get rid of any lumps that might be in the flour.
Because baking is such a science, Anma, I mean, mistakes do happen. Are there steps in the process here that you've showed us so far where something could go wrong, but you still would be able to save it? I struggle with that with baking.
Yeah, so with icings, I find if something goes wrong, it's usually the buttercream splits, which means it might be a bit hot. So if you feel that your icing looks a bit split, I always pop it in the fridge for a bit. I mean, in South Africa, it gets dreadfully hot. So, you know, these things do happen, but you can always, there's always a way to save things. The trick with this filling is just to keep an eye on it on the stove, because it's a milk and flour mix, so it does thicken quite fast. And then this,
obviously.
At low heat. This is going to get poured into a little tray, and then we have to cover it with cling film, because like custard, we don't want it to form a skin. That skin, once you throw it into the mixer later, is quite hard to get rid of it. So it's going to create a little lump in this filling, and ultimately, we're trying to create a really smooth filling.
Now, I mean, I can only imagine if you had not shown me this vase trick, because I'm already making a mess. So just imagine, it would have been so much worse. This is brilliance taken to another level. It is innovative, it is clever, and it's also resourceful.
Yeah, you can use any type of vase or something that your piping bag fits over. I'm just tending to this, slowly it's starting to thicken now.
You want it, how thick do you want it?
It does cook quite thick, so it will start bubbling when it's ready. You'll see, so now it's still, we're waiting for that, the flour to start thickening as the heat activates it. And then it's going to be, I can feel it thickening now, and then it's going to come to a stage where it bubbles. It's very much like a custard. process.
Tell me your proudest moment, Anma, as a baker. I always wonder, like, somebody like you, at the level of profession that you are, or career that you are, your most proudest moment as a baker.
Oh,
Do you remember the event?
There's many, but for me, certainly in recent years, I baked the wedding cake for Jason and Ashley, the owners of Jason Bakery in Greenpoint.
Yes.
Like for me, that to me is like, I really look up to him as a baker because he also has a little bit of that badassery going on, you know? Yeah. A little bit alternative. See how thick this has gone. This is actually, so it's a thick paste that I'm going to...
It's like a roux for real.
It's a vanilla flavoured roux.
Yeah, that's it.
So this is going to go into a little tray. I always suggest putting it into something like this, which is flat, because I'm going to show if I level this out, it's got a bit more surface area, which means it's going to cool faster.
Okay, I'll help you with that.
And that's iconic.
Exactly, because if you put it in a deep bowl, it's going to take longer to cool.
Yeah, of course, naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, on my side, I feel like I've already
you can set
pulled
that
up my
aside.
piping bag. I feel like I did a good job, and yeah, I'll set it aside for you.
That's going to be lots of ice. Is that icing, right?
Yep,
that's going to be lots and lots of it.
And then, Polly, you can pop this, which is caster sugar and soft butter, into the mixer and switch that on. So that is going to be the icing base for this little guy. So this goes into the fridge. Cool. I've done one a bit earlier, which is now completely cooled down, because obviously if you're going to add a hot situation into the butter, it's not going to work. So this has to be cold. You will notice, and what a lot of people ask me is, they say, oh, why are you using caster sugar in an icing? But you actually whip this for so long that the sugar dissolves and it becomes really light and creamy. So it's a caster sugar-based icing and not a normal icing sugar situation.
Slowly but surely, you are seeing everything come together.
Yeah, so this whips a good 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes until the sugar is dissolved. The softer your butter is at the start, the quicker it will essentially dissolve the sugar. So
I mean, for now I'll turn it off just for the sound.
That's
but yeah, essentially
Yeah.
you will leave it for 5 to 6 minutes.
Yes, and if you start with a room temperature butter, it's going to go way quicker than starting with a hard butter, because that's also going to start breaking your whisk. And so always room temperature butter. And then once this gets to a stage where it's light and fluffy, we add this mixture into it. So because we've added the cling film, this pulls off really easily. And you'll see, you'll see it's quite... it's quite set, but this whips into this icing and it becomes really nice and soft. So, yeah, this needs to go for a bit.
Common mistakes? What are some of the common mistakes there at that level?
I think people can underestimate the sugar quite a bit. The sugar needs to be quite well dissolved before you start adding the roux mixture. So that's something to look out for. I think let's switch that one off for a moment.
And just
then
for
I
the
can
viewers
show
to see
you.
it, I'll add...
Yeah, add a little bit of that in, and then we can switch it on again in a bit. And then I just want to touch base on these beautiful little sponges that are now...
Oh, they smell so good. I mean, like this...
Vanilla. Can you smell the vanilla bean?
Do you know when somebody has been baking and you are walking past or you're visiting them?
I know all about that. People always say, I walk into shops and they go, oh my word, you smell like cake, or you smell like donut or something. It's like, sounds horrible, but I suppose for somebody else it's really
it sounds
I was going to say, that sounds delicious.
I don't think I realised that's what I smell like.
So this is whisking up. I've already added that vanilla roux mixture that you created on the stove. We have made the cake. We have created the icing. So we are about to stack and continue this recipe shortly. But if you would like to get your hands on it, head over to afternoonexpress.co.za. Now make sure you stay tuned, because after the break, we put this cake together.